Hello, everyone. I'm Chris from OneSafe, and we are building crypto-friendly banking for Web3 companies. So my team and I are a bunch of crypto OGs. I bought Bitcoin in 2013. I was a contributor for some open source projects like Remix IDE and Open Zeppelin. I was on Near Protocol when they were just on testnet. So suffice to say, being a crypto OG, banks didn't really like me, right? Moving a lot of money from your exchange to your bank actually got me debanked by all of these banks, Citi, Schwab, and Chase. And you might think, okay, well, it's 2025, Trump is president, regulation is kind of getting a little bit easier. Banking shouldn't be such a big issue these days, right? But actually today, even this is like, I don't know, like January 28th, 2025, like my startup and crypto companies today are still getting debanked. And so it's pretty obvious, I would hope, that you guys could see that getting a bank account and keeping it is really hard for a crypto company. And even if you are able to get a bank account, then you just have this massive operational headache. From your bank account, you got to move it to your exchange. From your exchange, maybe you have to move it to your MetaMask. Maybe you got to move it through a DEX, a bridge, and maybe to your multi-sig so you can do some signatures. And I'm getting stressed just talking about it, so I got to stop here. OneSafe removes all of this complexity and provides one platform that streamlines all of your crypto and fiat operations in one place. And of course, I can shill all of our amazing features, like how we support over 40 plus fiat currencies, wires, ACH, SWIFT, how there's a built-in crypto exchange for your on-off ramps. We're available globally in over 169 countries. So Panama, Cayman Island, BVI, we can set you up. We support Solana, Polkadot, Avalanche. There's accounting and invoices. It comes with a card so that you can add it to Apple Pay and Google Pay, and how we're doing over 30 million a month with over 800 companies. Or we can talk about our metrics, where we're doing over 300,000 in ARR over the last about year and a half, purely from transaction fees and interchange, without even focusing on monetization. But I think it's more interesting to talk about specific use cases. And so let's just talk about a couple of the examples of the companies that use us today. So, for example, we'll have Yield Guild Games, Polkadot, and recently we just onboarded Decentraland as well, who are foundations that have trouble paying for invoices, paying for things like Gmail and Slack, and so they spin up a OneSafe so then they can kind of pay all of their services and utilities. Then we have a more interesting example where you have this big explosion in real-world asset companies. And so actually one of our fellow cohort members, Insuro, which is a Web3 RWA insurance, I'll let him talk more about his product later, but he sources liquidity from DeFi protocols, deploys it in the real world, gets paid back in US dollars, and then uses us to be that kind of bridge between that real-world asset layer as well as the real-world Web 2. But the most interesting use case is when you get a completely non-crypto company. This is DTC Pages. They're a dev shop based out in Argentina that had trouble opening up a bank account, so came to us so that they could then invoice their clients globally in the US and Europe, get those funds, on-ramp that into crypto, and then pay their engineers. These guys don't touch crypto at all. They're actually a completely Web 2 company that uses OneSafe to kind of really manage their finances and take advantage of the fact that we are a beacon of stability in a country that was a bit financially unstable. And this is the kind of Web 3 adoption that we've always been dreaming about. And the vision here is, in the future, every company will be a Web 3 company, because making and receiving global payments is just that much more seamless using crypto. And if you're excited about this opportunity, I would love to connect with you guys. Please feel free to reach out, because through a mixture of a lot of our competition dying over the last crypto winter and our kind of relentless focus on the customer experience, we're in the perfect position really to take advantage of this massive market. Thank you very much.
Emmy, go ahead.
Great presentation. Very well rounded, very well, you're very charismatic in front, so that's great. I'm not sure if I have like what market specifically are you targeting right now, and has the Trump administration sort of being much more open in terms of banks being able to offer products have changed your strategy at all?
Yeah, so the big focus for us was actually Web3 startups that touched both crypto and fiat. So like the real world asset space was quite interesting. We had a lot of Web3 startups, but we're actually been growing, kind of moving upscale. So instead of just the startups with like 5 to 10 people, we're starting to get larger and larger companies, some of the foundations that are using us. It's funny that you mentioned like the Trump Foundation and like, the Trump and how like banking is becoming easier. We actually solved all of this problem like maybe like, I don't know, like even before, like a year ago about. And so it actually hasn't really helped us in any way, except for the fact that maybe there's more startups coming out. But now it's, but like we've already figured it all out, so there was no real big like support that, exactly, nothing really that changed.
So if I understand well, you don't need, since you're dealing with Web3 companies, you don't need any strong regulation or KYC, because that could stop you. But if you're dealing with three web companies that already have that, right? Am I correct?
So we still do, it's like an actual bank account. So the virtual IBAN, you can send a wire, receive a wire, and as soon as you touch US dollars, you do need to KYB and KYC.
So you could be stopped.
We could be stopped, and what does that mean? So what we do is we find crypto-friendly banking partners that are comfortable and have that risk profile that will not debank our partners that work with us to offer these like actual like Web2 bank accounts to our businesses. So would we be stopped if a banking provider does come to us and say, hey, you know what, I don't want to do crypto banking anymore for these guys, then yes, you're right. And that's actually happened to us like, I don't know, like 2.5 years ago. But now we have a network of about 4 banking providers. So now we have the built-in redundancy, so in case something like SVB or Silvergate happens, we can also kind of manage that. So the redundancy is kind of built in to our product.
So thank you for the presentation, and congrats on all the metrics that you presented. Outside of capital, what is the biggest friction point in allowing you to move forward for high growth?
This is an interesting question because we've been, there's a few things that have been coming along. Like our team was about 5 people in, I don't even know, January or so. Now we're about 15. We're running into some growing pains, and this is just a function of like, operational scaling, right? Like software can scale infinitely, but like operations, we're getting about like 800 companies, we're onboarding about 100, and that's growing every month. And so like that ends up adding a lot of operational kind of like friction and support friction to us. I think we got to really like, now that we have this team, we got to like hone down, like get everybody trained, get everybody moving quickly so that way we can then streamline the whole processes. I think that's been our biggest choke point as of today.
Okay, that was amazing. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much.